Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cole, and in today's video we are looking at my LEGO 2005 Ford GT MOC. Now if you'd like to build this model yourself, the instructions for it are available at my website at the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel a little bit, you can go take a look around the website, not even buy anything, just kind of look around, maybe leave me a comment and let me know what you think. That'd be great. But yeah, I think this is one of my best models so far. We'll get into why I think that in a minute. Also, I should mention that in the beginning of 2022 here, we're going to have a bunch of videos of MOCs that I built and designed in 2021. The probably isn't a huge deal for any of you, but I just thought I would mention it. So let's begin by talking about what the 2005 Ford GT is. Obviously, it's the Ford GT that was produced in 2005. I refer to it as the 2005 Ford GT, even though I think it was produced in 2005 and 2006, if I remember correctly. Basically, it's what you would expect a Ford GT to be. It's a mid-engined, like the original GT40 race car it was inspired by. Mid-engine, supercharged V8, I believe made about 500 or 600 horsepower, somewhere in between. Manual transmission, rear-wheel drive. And had this really very nice retro styling that was very much like the 60s GT40, and it also looked very modern at the same time. It was eventually replaced 2016 or 17 by the modern Ford GT, which is a automatic V6 Ford, similar to a Taurus. I'm just kidding, we like all the Ford GTs here. But the 2005 Ford GT is well known for its like very analog driving experience that a lot of people talk about. I do not know about this myself because I've never driven one, but it's often kind of like compared with a kind of like put with the Carrera GT, which is like the utter manual analog supercar from the time. It's also kind of in the group of like classic early 2000s supercars, like the Ferrari Enzo, the Carrera GT, the Mercedes SLR, and a couple other cars that I can't quite remember at the moment. So now that we've gone through all that nerdy information, hopefully you're still watching the video. Maybe we should do a separate video, that kind of thing. I'm not really sure. So let's talk about the model itself now. I just realized how long I've been talking about the other information for. So I figured out you can build this model in about 3 of the like standard Ford GT color schemes that you can get from the factory. The launch color, dark blue and white stripes with a couple black pieces in there because there aren't that many LEGO pieces in dark blue. The white with blue stripes that you see here, which is probably my favorite, and also a very nice red with white stripes. And it can be built in a solid color as well, like white or black without any stripes. So let's go over why I think this is one of the best models I have built. So let's go over why I think this is one of the best models I have built yet. So if we look around the front of it, which I have right here in front of me. So as you can see around the front, we have a very interesting headlight technique. This is partially inspired by the Bricks, Blocks, and Knocks Ferrari 488 piece, which has a similar kind of like plates surrounding the headlight technique. Now originally I thought about using like rounded tiles for the headlights, which makes a lot of sense because it's a very simple and very effective technique to get headlights like this. But I want to try to get things a little bit more of an accurate shape, so I decided to go with the basically two plates stacked up and then a curved slope on top, which is the exact same shape. It did require quite a bit of like just maneuvering to get it into the right position, and then some more maneuvering to get some parts around it to kind of like encase it inside the nose of the car. But I think it came out really nicely. It's a really complicated technique, or maybe not a really complicated technique, but it's a really kind of like complex technique in that there's a lot going on with this design, but I think it looks super sleek, and I'm just really happy with how it turned out. And it lines up very nicely with the area above it with the fender, which I was also very happy with. Underneath, you can see how all this stuff works, obviously. And you can see it is attached to a bar piece, which allows it to hinge down like this. And then as you can see above that, we have the stripe. Now in the front, I think the stripe looks the most realistic. It gets slightly less realistic as we go back to this center section, and then as we go back all the way back of the car, the stripe just kind of turns into one big stripe because I didn't really want to bother trying to use lots of tiny little plates all lined up sideways to get the stripe. You can probably just take a sticker from LEGO set and put it down the center of this to get the 2 blue stripes, which should be pretty easy, although I don't really use that many stickers on my parts because I like to reuse them for other stuff. And then as you can see, we have the 2 big intakes in the hood. Then moving back, we have the windshield. Now this is kind of an interesting windshield. I think it's a very accurate shape, but it's not the best looking windshield. I think you could probably replace this with a certain part that I can't remember the name of. This windshield right here, it should work on this, I think, with a little bit of modification. But I don't think this is a horrible design for a windshield either. It does use the dual like bar with clip piece technique. I'm not sure if that's a name for it, but that's what I call it. Then the little 3 stud long bar and the little bar clip with bar holder on the end to form the rear view mirror. So I think it's another thing I'm really happy with how this model came out is just how low it sits, which is also why we cannot put minifigures inside of it. But if we look inside of it, I was actually really happy with how I did the interior on this one. We're using these hinge plates for the seats that have these like studs with holes in them, which normally I would put a tile on, but the actual Ford GT has this kind of like weird like circles in the seat pattern, and so this actually looks quite a bit like it, so I've done that here. I have put jumper plates on the bottom of the floor. I don't know why I keep doing that even though the car doesn't fit minifigures, because just like habit, which is kind of funny. And then we have the shift lever in the center console, which I think looks very good in gray. Steering wheel, which is kind of unconventional. Normally I use the city steering wheel, although this is actually a lot more realistic. We have the kind of like weird gauge. I think it's if I remember correctly, it's the speedometer, which is at a weird angle like this in the center console. I think it all came out pretty nicely. And as you can see, the roof uses some interesting techniques as well. It's pretty normal. It has the stripe in it, so it's basically using this 1x6 plate at the back to hold everything together. But in the front, we have these round tiles. And as you can see, I'm using this turntable dish piece to hold it together and not stick out at the bottom. So I was very happy with how that came out. And then the sides are also, well, reasonably complex compared to some of my other models. They use a lot of brackets, as you can see. It's kind of like these two stacks of brackets. So you have the bottom stack, which holds up this like side skirt or rocker panel or whatever you call it. And then above that, we have another one, which kind of forms this indent in the side, which I think came out really nice. This is one of my favorite parts of the model, and I keep going on about this with all the different parts of the model, but this is one of my very favorite parts of the model. Just how we have this indent here on the side, and behind that we have the air intake, and then we also have the blue stripe going along the bottom, which I was really happy I was able to get in there. And then around the back here we have the kind of engine cover area. We have standard Lego slopes just kind of forming the area around that, which works really well. Often it's not the most realistic solution to use in this situation, but it actually looks really good here. There are two exposed studs on top. I don't mind those at all because it looks really sleek. And then also we have the engine cover, which you can open up, and underneath you can see the supercharger. You can't see any engine because I'm still working on putting engines in my models. But yeah, this is an improvement because normally you have no engine in my models. So this is an improvement with the supercharger in there. So then we have the back part at an angle with the taillights and the kind of grille in the center. This part is very simple. I think it works fine. It looks really good. It's not the most advanced design ever, but I think it works really nicely. We have the exhaust underneath, which is using one of my favorite techniques for exhaust. You don't often need this technique for exhaust, but I was really happy with how it came out here. As you can see, we're using the kind of like these two tiles with a bar sticking out and then this round plate with holes in it, and it just forms this really cool looking exhaust. As well, underneath we have the diffuser and the rear bumper. So there's the overview of the design of my 2005 Ford GT MOC. So I suppose that is it for today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, if you want to go build this model, the instructions are available at the link in the description below. You can also check out the website just to kind of support the channel, just by giving it a look around, that'll help. And yeah, I suppose that's it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching, and with that, that's it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.